Assalamu alaikum and good morning to everybody. Um, we start the topics on cornea. We already discussed about anatomy and physiology of the cornea. Today we will talk about precorneal tear film. You know, the corneal surface is uneven. It it makes even by the precorneal tear film. So it is very important part for our refractive purpose. The fluid covering over the cornea is called the precorneal tear film. It consists of three layers. From before backwards or from posterior to anterior, you may say as mucus layer, aqueous layer and the lipid layer. A lipid layer is the most anterior layer, the middle layer is the aqueous and the inner layer is the mucus layer. Mucus layer, it is the innermost layer, consists of mucus secreted by the conjunctival goblet cell. It converts the hydrophobic corneal surface into hydrophilic one. Aqueous layer consists of tear fluid secreted by the main and the uh, accessory lacrimal gland. You know, the main lacrimal gland is located at the anterolateral part of the roof of the orbit in the lacrimal fossa for the lacrimal gland. And the accessory lacrimal gland, that is the gland of Krause and gland of Weyl-French, they are present in the bulbar conjunctiva mostly and also in the fornical conjunctiva. Then the leafid layer, it is secreted by the Meibomian gland and glands of Zeiss and glands of Moll. So, whenever there is dysfunction of the goblet cell or the lacrimal gland or the Meibomian gland, there will be deficiency of the tear film or there will be early breakup of the tear film, so that there will be blurring of vision. But you must know the uh, aqueous layer, which consists of tear fluid, it is secreted by the main and accessory lacrimal gland. But here the basic secretion, for the basic secretion, it is the accessory lacrimal gland are important. So if there is destruction of the main lacrimal gland, there will be no harm or there will be no problem in the maintenance of the tear film. Tear film, what it causes? It prevents the overflow of the tears, prevents evaporation of the tears, and lubricates the eyelids and help in the refraction. The the eyeball is consists of three layers from outwards to inwards. The outer is the fibrous coat, which consists of anterior 1/6 cornea and the posterior 5/6 is the sclera. The cornea is the transparent part and the sclera is the opaque fibrous part, which is protective in nature and containing the collagen fibers and the elastic fibers. In human, the whole sclera is white, contrasting with the color of the iris. It is also known as the white of the eye and gives shape of the eye. In the picture you see the anterior this portion is the cornea, the posterior portion is the sclera, and posteriorly the eyeball is attached to the optic nerve. The middle coat is the vascular coat, consists of the iris, ciliary body, and the choroid, and the inner coat is this yellowish layer is the retina, which consists of the fibers of the consists of ganglion cells and the fibers of the ganglion cells forming the optic nerve. And you see this is the anterior chamber the space between the cornea and the iris is the anterior chamber. Behind the iris and anterior to the lens is the posterior chamber, and behind the lens it is the vitreous cavity. Now we will talk about the most common disease of the cornea is the corneal ulcer. In our day-to-day practice, you will get the case of corneal ulcer most commonly. Now, what is the definition of the corneal ulcer? For any ulcer, you should remember in mind that any disruption of the continuity of the surface epithelium is called ulcer. In corneal ulcer, we may define it as a loss in the continuity of the corneal epithelium with underlying stromal infiltration and suppuration associated with signs of inflammation with or without hypopyon. Etiology. There may be infective cause, non-infective cause. We can divide the causes into infective and non-infective causes. Infective cause like microbial, it may be bacterial, it may be fungal, it may be parasitic. The most common bacteria, the gram-positive cocci like Staphylococcus aureus, Staphylococcus epidermidis, Streptococcus hemolyticus, and Staphylococcus pneumoniae. Then gram-negative cocci like Neisseria gonorrhoeae, Neisseria meningitidis, gram-positive bacilli like Corynebacterium diphtheria, gram-negative bacilli like Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Proteus, Klebsiella, Moraxella, and Escherichia coli. Mycobacteria like Mycobacterium tuberculosis, Mycobacterium leprae, fungal like Aspergillus fusarium and Candida albicans, viral like herpes simplex virus, herpes zoster virus, measles virus, mumps virus, adenovirus. Protozoal like Acanthamoeba, non-infective or non-microbial causes usually causes central keratitis. Like it is due to exposure keratitis you may get in case of Bell's palsy, or in patients those are suffering from ectropion or exophthalmos, as uh, the eyeball is not completely closed, so that there is dryness of the cornea and ultimately there is ulceration in the central cornea. Another cause of non-infective corneal ulcer is the atheromatous keratitis, that is the corneal ulcer on a healed corneal opacity, and neurotrophic keratitis. Neurotrophic keratitis due to loss of sensation. There is neurotrophic keratitis as in herpes simplex virus. Peripheral keratitis, you may get sometimes the peripheral keratitis like marginal keratitis, flick tenular keratitis, Murray's ulcer, and keratitis associated with autoimmune diseases, like for polyarteritis nodosa, systemic lupus erythematosus, rheumatoid arthritis. This is the picture showing the Murray's ulcer, that is the ulcer at the periphery. Peripheral ulcerative keratitis, you see in the picture. There is circumferential spread of the corneal ulcer, and these are mostly due to autoimmune diseases. And in these cases, we use the steroid, systemic steroid as well as local steroid. In general, the ulcer occurring in the central area of the cornea are usually due to exogenous infection, whether bacterial, viral, or fungal, and those occurring in the periphery are often toxic or allergic in nature or due to endogenous infection. As for example, when a case comes to you if you see the ulcer in the cornea in the central zone, you think about the it is due to exogenous infection like bacterial infection or viral infection or fungal infection. Are those occurring in the periphery of the cornea, you think about it is due to some toxic or allergic reaction or due to some endogenous infection. So, according to location of the corneal ulcer, you can decide whether the ulcer is due to exogenous infection or endogenous infection or toxic or allergic reaction. Classification of the corneal ulcer. We can classify the corneal ulcer as purulent corneal ulcer, non-purulent corneal ulcer, allergic corneal ulcer or degenerative corneal ulcer. Now the pathogenesis of the corneal ulcer. Normal corneal epithelium cannot be penetrated by all organisms. You know, the normal corneal epithelium cannot be penetrated by all organisms due to the zona occludens. You know, the uh, joint between the epithelial cell, this is zona occludens. It is very tough to penetrate by the organism. But there are some pathogens can penetrate the normal intact epithelium like Neisseria gonorrhoeae, Neisseria meningitidis, and Corynebacterium diphtheria. Sometimes you may get the MCQ question, multiple choice question, true or false, like the organism can penetrate the intact epithelium. So you should mind, you should keep in mind the Neisseria gonorrhoeae and Neisseria meningitidis, Corynebacterium diphtheria. These three organisms can penetrate the intact epithelium. Beside this, if you see the other name of the other organism, you should write the false, and if you see these three, you will write the true. So you should keep in mind for MCQ in professional examination. So, predisposing factor for an ulcer to develop are trauma to the corneal epithelium. One of the important cause or predisposing factor for the formation of corneal ulcer is the trauma. This trauma by injury, it may be by the foreign body, it may be due to by trichiasis, entrophion, contact lens wearing, etc. You know, this trichiasis is, that is due to misdirection of the eyelashes, is called trichiasis. Say, you know, the eyelash of the upper lid is directed forwards and upwards, and the lower lid downwards and forward. If the direction of the eyelashes are towards the eyeball, then it will cause injury to the corneal epithelium and ultimately causing corneal ulcer. On the other hand, the entrophion, that is the inward rolling of the lid margin, so that it will cause continuous rubbing of the cornea with eyelashes and causes ulceration. Contact lens wearer, because contact lens, we usually use the soft contact lens. Nowadays the people using the soft contact lens. So there is chance of tearing of the lens margin by your nail. When the person wear the contact lens, he or she may cause uh, uh, trauma to the contact lens, causing tear of the margin, or there may be roughness of the margin of the contact lens, and after wearing this contact lens, it will cause injury to the corneal epithelium due to lack of smoothness and causing corneal ulcer. Then there are some underlying corneal diseases which may lead to corneal ulcer, like corneal erosion, bullous keratopathy, keratomalacia. Another predisposing factor is the neurotrophic or exposure keratopathy. Neurotrophic, if there is loss of corneal sensation due to peripheral neuropathy, so when there is an injury, you cannot understand that there is some irritation or something, or you sometimes you may rub the eyeball with your handkerchief or other cloths or any other things. It may cause injury to the cornea, but you cannot understand it. Another one is exposure keratopathy. In exposure keratopathy, in case of Bell's palsy, the eyeball cannot be closed because we know the closing of the eyeball is done by the orbicularis oculi, which is supplied by the seventh cranial nerve. When there is paralysis of the seventh cranial nerve, then eyeball cannot be closed, so that the cornea remains exposed. As a result, cornea becomes dry and ultimately causing ulceration. In case of proptosis, you know, due to any space occupying lesion in the orbit or in thyroid ophthalmopathy, there is proptosis. In case of proptosis, patient cannot close the eyeball completely during sleep. Eyeball remains open and causing exposure of the cornea, leading to exposure keratopathy, and ultimately there is formation of ulceration. Chronic diffuse cystitis or blepharitis is another predisposing factor. The chronic diffuse cystitis, it is a chronic infection in the lacrimal sac. So there is source of infective foci, and so many organisms are there. Whenever there is mild abrasion of the cornea due to rubbing or any other things, it may lead to infection and causing ulceration of the cornea. Use of topical steroid. If you use topical steroid, say there is chronic diffuse cystitis or there is bacterial conjunctivitis. In that case, if you use the steroid, then it will cause exacerbation or multiplication of the organism and causing ulceration. Poor general body resistance, as in malnutrition, diabetes, systemic immunosuppressive patient, those are under systemic immunosuppressive therapy, having low body resistance are prone to develop corneal ulcer. These preconditions are then followed by infection. The infection may be exogenous, carried by foreign body or local, or from chronic diffuse cystitis or conjunctivitis. Thus, after the infection has settled, there is necrosis of the corneal ulcer or corneal tissue, which is sloughed off and an ulcer is formed. Now, you should know about the fate and sequelae of the corneal ulcer. The corneal ulcer rogi fate ki hoite pare, it may remains localized and ultimately heals with or without scar formation. The corneal ulcer যদি হয় আমরা ট্রিটমেন্ট করার পরে এটা স্প্রেড করবে না, লোকালাইজ থাকবে, আলটিমেটলি হিল হবে। এবং এর মধ্যে কিছু আলসার আছে যেটা উইদাউট স্কার ফরমেশন ইট উইল বি হিলড, আর কিছু আলসার আছে যে সেখানে স্কার ফরমেশন হবে। আমরা জানি যে ইফ দ্য আলসার does not extend beyond the Bowman's membrane, there will be no scar formation. When the ulcer extend beyond the Bowman's membrane, then there will be a scar formation. If the scar of the cornea we can classify clinically as nebula, macular and leucoma type of corneal opacity, depending on the transparency of the opacity. When this type of opacity occur, if there is involvement only up to the Bowman's membrane, there will be nebular type of opacity. When there is the anterior stroma is involved, there is macular type of opacity. When the whole thickness of the cornea involved, there is leucoma. And there are some other points by which uh, 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 we can clinically judge this opacity. Like if there is nebular type of opacity, you can see the iris detail through this opacity. If you see the iris detail through the corneal opacity, then we call it is a nebular type of corneal opacity. When you see the something is there behind the cornea, that is iris is there, but details cannot be uh, seen, then it is macular type of corneal opacity. When you cannot see any structure beyond the behind the cornea, then it is a case of leucoma type of corneal opacity. So, whenever there is corneal ulcer, it may remains localized and ultimately heals without scar formation. Number 2 is the descemetocele followed by perforating corneal ulcer. Descemetocele, that is the when there is slough out of all the layers of the cornea in front of the descemet's membrane, then due to the intraocular pressure, there is bulging of the descemet's membrane at the ulcerated area, forming the descemetocele, and when the resistance is failed, then there is perforation of the corneal ulcer. Another complication is the sloughing corneal ulcer. The infected tissue or ulcerated tissue, dead tissue are completely slough out. So, so you when usually you see when the if the tissue resistance is sufficiently enough, then usually the corneal ulcer remains localized and ultimately heals. If the ulcer penetrates through the corneal substance, then there is formation of the descemetocele followed by perforating corneal ulcer. If the ulcer is spread so that whole or part of the whole thickness of the cornea sloughs out, then there is formation of sloughing corneal ulcer. Pathology of the localized corneal ulcer. Corneal ulcer can be considered in 3 stages. At a progressive stage, then the regressive stage, and the stage of cicatrization. Progressive stage, if you see a corneal ulcer, when we start the treatment of a corneal ulcer, we follow the patient. In the follow-up day, we usually see whether the ulcer is progressive or regressive. That is, ulcer is extending in size or it is remain in size as before, and is there any sign of healing. These are the things we usually see during follow-up. So, we should categorize the ulcer as the progressive stage, whether it is in progressive stage or regressive stage or in stage of cicatrization. Progressive stage surrounding the ulcer, if the surrounding the ulcer there is marked infiltration with polymorph, then we think about it is progressive. And if you see there is necrosis, sloughing of the epithelium and the Bowman's membrane and some amount of substantia propria corresponding to the ulcerative area take place and ulcer crater is formed. When the walls of the ulcer crater become swollen due to imbibition of fluid by corneal tissue, if you see these things in a corneal ulcer, then you think about it is progressive type. The ulcer is in progressive stage. If you see there is a line of demarcation affairs surrounding the ulcer between the healthy and unhealthy zone. If you see the necrosed tissues up to the line of demarcation slough up, and if the polymorphs are replaced by the large mononuclear cells and infiltration of the inflammatory cells diminishes, then you can think about the ulcer is in regressive stage. Then stage of cicatrization, ulcer crater becomes filled up by fibrous tissue. In this stage, you see the ulcer bed is become filled by the fibrous tissue. Epithelium growing from the edge of the crater covers the cornea. Bowman's membrane is not regenerated. Newly laid fibrous tissue causes an opacity of the cornea, which depending on the density is known as nebula, macula, or leucoma type of opacity. Other changes we get in corneal ulcer, you get the ciliary congestion, that is the congestion of the uh, conjunctival blood vessel around the limbus. There is sometimes corneal ulcer associated with iritis. You will get the signs of iritis due to the absorption of the toxin from the ulcer. You may get pus in the anterior chamber. We call it hypopyon due to exudation in the anterior chamber from the blood vessels of the iris and ciliary body. The pus remains sterile as long as Descemet's membrane remains intact. This pus remains sterile. There is no organism in the pus until the Descemet's membrane is intact. And you may get the vascularization of the cornea occurs when the ulcer is close to the limbus and when the ulcer persists for a long time. Then in that case you can get the vascularization of the cornea and find opacities and the cellular deposits on the in the vitreous due to transmission of the toxic products from the anterior segment to the posterior segment of the eyeball. Clinical features আমরা কিভাবে in symptoms you will get the foreign body, patient complaints of foreign body sensation. Number 2 is the photophobia. Photophobia, that is the if you want to define the photophobia, you should tell like this. Photophobia is the actual pain sensation of the eye on exposure to the bright light. Pain due to why there is pain due to exposure and irritation of the sensory nerve endings in the cornea. You know the corneal nerve endings, these are unmyelinated, so they are bare nerve endings. ঠিক আছে, আজকে এখানে রাখি। থ্যাংক ইউ।